6 o'clock. The first item on the agenda is public comment. Okay, we don't have a remote option, right? Okay, so any public comment? All right, hearing none, the next item is the approval of the October 21st, 2024 regular meeting minutes. Give everybody a minute. This feels like each industry. It's crazy.
Make a motion?
Yep.
Make a motion to approve them?
Do I have a
For
second?
October 21st?
Second the motion?
Do I have any further corrections or any corrections? No corrections. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? None. The motion passes unanimously. Next item is the association liaison report.
This guy's going high.
Well said for now, thank you.
Okay. Next item is the chairman's report. I don't have anything in particular other than items that are going to be discussed further in the agenda, the storage and training facility and the budget. So, next item is review of the current financial
Making the meeting
statements.
today. Should we think everybody making the meeting?
Hi there.
It's miserable out.
Yes, it is.
I'm not following. I just need to take Ted's. Where's Ted? That stuff he can take.
All right, so we're okay.
You take Ted's stuff over here. He's on here.
That's already done.
I like this term. Something here.
Go ahead, Sean, I'm sorry. No problem.
Yeah, you're good.
We're okay on the operating budget, the lines we're gonna keep an eye on. They're gonna be the building line. We're gonna discuss that more in the operating budget for next year that we submitted. Repair maintenance machine, we had some repairs, but we're looking okay in that line for this year, but we'll just keep an eye on it in the next couple of months. Gear replacement, doesn't look like we spent a lot, but we have gear on order, and that line is basically gonna be pretty much wiped out. And we're gonna talk about more of that in the operating budget for next year. And everything else is pretty much okay right now. Unless you guys have any questions.
Anybody have questions? All right. Next item is the fire chief's report.
Okay, so let's start with apparatus report. Everything is going pretty good. We do have some issues, and we're gonna get into that in the capital budget, where some of the equipment's getting older. We have, we'll talk about it in the capital, I just don't want to repeat twice. So we'll talk about that under a different report. And we'll talk about the building in executive session, take it. So let's talk about operating. So everybody should have had this email to them. Take a look at it, or someone have. All right, so let's start at the top here. So these are the salaries. So fire chief went up to 2.5%, what the town, whatever the town negotiated with the union was. Salary for the fire marshal went up 2.5%, but it shows 32.44% because he got the increase when we went through personnel to bring him up to where he should belong to the other surrounding towns that we talked
right.
about. So that's why it shows a 32.44% increase, but That was already previously approved, but since it wasn't in the budget last year, they added to the budget this year, so it looks like a huge number, but it's really not. The assistant fire chief goes up to 2.5%. Regular clerical, I think it's called regular clerical, is going up to 2.5%. Part-time all other, that's the engineers that work fixing the trucks or whatever, that's going up to 2.5%. And then we have this line which it's been at 2,500. We're probably going to go over it this year anyway, but that is overtime for Kena. So when we have storms or whatever, and we have extra work and a lot more carts coming in and everything else, that covers usually that. And if she has to stay because IT is in the building or something happens. So we went up $500 on that. Buyback 6 stayed the same, nothing changed there. Medical expense went up 7%. Reason why it went up 7% is we got notification from Yale that they are going up 7% this year. Along with, there is an increase in medical supplies across the board, but we don't have a choice, that is mandated, so we have to do that, so that line has to go up. Core support for IT has gone up a little bit, went up about 4%. So
Can we
we're
just
from-
ask questions at
Sure.
each category as
I'm
we go
sorry.
through them?
Yep.
Does anybody have questions so far? Okay, on the exams and medical supplies, would you have like a rough breakdown between what is exams and what is medical supplies?
We spend roughly $32,000 a year in firefighter physicals, and then the rest are supplies. And that number does vary only because if it's a new hire, meaning a new member, the physical average is about $800 to $900 compared to usually on the average about $600. And then the guys that are just drivers, they're about almost right around $400 a physical. So it all varies across the board. It depends on how many people are in the department at that point. Core support, IT, 4%. That is our IT vendor, our IT services. Volunteer incentives goes up to standard 2.5%.
Can you just ask if there's questions on each one? Do you mind?
Sure, that core support.
Okay, so on that one, is that a increase that you already have in hand that you know is happening?
We know that's gonna go up 4%. We know that's going up 4%.
Okay, is that a contract that has escalators?
No,
Okay.
there's no contract. But we know, so usually we go year to year. So we don't sign a 3-year deal with anybody.
Does your IT support cover the CAD and your dispatch equipment, or is it all the other?
No, so dispatch equipment, like, and we're gonna get to that on the radio, that is where like the Motorola contract is for all the radio equipment.
Okay.
This is just strictly computers in-house, like IT, manage the whole,
Just for the fire
the
department.
database, just for the fire department. Yep.
Crew computers, or
What's that?
the crew computers, or like an internet jack doesn't work, or the TVs.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So if we need a computer reprogrammed or need a computer updated, manage the server,
Yep.
update the server and all that, the switches, the wireless in the building, all that covers all that. Any questions on the volunteer incentive program?
Just real quick, is that 2.5, does the town agree that the volunteer incentives go up because everyone's salaries go up?
Correct.
They don't have an issue with that?
Nope.
Okay,
It's been going up for the last couple of years.
okay.
Custodial went up a little bit. Our cleaning people are going up a few percent. It's like 150 a week, plus, or 150 a month. Plus, we also have We're gonna have the storage facility in the back, which we're gonna have to maintain and clean, so we put, I think we put in like $5,000 a year to maintain and clean that. Repairs, maintenance, this is the truck repairs. So we're going up 9.28% because next year we have to take a lot of the wheels off the trucks and check the brakes. So that adds additional funds to actually pull them, to check the brakes, the drums. There's just a lot more maintenance, so we do that roughly every 3 years. So we're due for that come next year.
Where do they do that?
They take the truck and they do it up in Cromwell, or they actually take them now. We take a couple of them up to SVI, which is in Massachusetts. Yeah. So they come pick the truck up, bring it up there, they go through the truck, and then they bring it back to us. Any questions on that? The annual DOT and NFPA OSHA inspection. So this is the pump testing, hose testing, ladder testing, fit testing, SCBA bottle testing. Most of the vendors are telling us they're going up on the average of about 10% on these. These are items that we don't have a choice on doing. We have to test hose, we have to test the air packs, the bottle testing, fit testing, we just actually did last night. We have to do these on a yearly basis. These are all mandates. Any questions on that? Okay, building. So the building, we're going up $14,000. We're having issues, and this is gonna go with a couple of lines. If we could just skip this line and we'll come back to it, and we'll explain why. Computer Windows to upgrade went to Windows 11, replacement of the Barracuda backup. These are all things that we pay for separately. So our IT people manage the thing, and then we pay for, these are all like subscriptions and everything. So like our reporting software is in here, that's first due, and then we pay for all those other things that
So
are
did
listed
they
out there.
recommend changing to Datto from Barracuda, or?
Yes, no, so we replacement of Barracuda, so they recommended going to Datto. That's who they mostly use rather than Barracuda.
Yeah.
Yep. That was on their recommendation. Any questions on that line? Trash, this is rentals. Rentals went up $4,000. We run short in that line every single year, and this is where we really need to be. There's nothing that really, we had a huge cost increase here. A couple of things went up, but this is where we need to be overall to manage the budget. Same deal with the phone system. The phone system that's here and on the walls. So we have a voice over IP system, so we pay basically per license per phone every month. So when you do the math out, this is what our number always is. So we always use that, we have to find money in other areas to cover, but this is where that number should be for the telephone for the building. Cell phones, we went up $500. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. E-dispatch, I am responding. These are all items that, like we have on our phones, so we get notified when a call comes in. Instead of the alpha pagers like we were used to having, it all goes through the phone. It goes through multiple things, so the guys get the calls. Okay, public safety radio. This went up 5.5%. So this is going from 185,475 to 195,676. So a lot of these are contracts that the town negotiated. So this line is pretty interesting because this isn't only the fire department. This is fire department, public works, and the police department. So basically, we're holding the contract for Motorola. So we pay in the area of about $115,000 a year for the Motorola contract. That includes software upgrades to the radio system, the brain of it, and it also includes any hardware that needs to be replaced. Now, the system's 5 years old now. We've already replaced an entire site. It didn't cost us anything other than what our contract is, but basically you gotta look at a radio site as a bunch of different computers and GPS coordinates and everything else. And that has been replaced, switches. It's basically like mini servers at these locations, and a couple of them, a lot of equipment's already been replaced in the last few years. So the equipment gets upgraded, and if the hardware can't take it, they replace it, and it's part of this service charge. So we have a service agreement which was for 6 years. I think this is going on year 6. So I gotta talk to Tony, and we have to start negotiating with Motorola for maybe another 5-year contract for this equipment and for the software upgrade. We have to continue to do that. Otherwise, let's say we skip a year, right? And we say we don't want to do it. If we need an upgrade in 2 years, we have to pay for the 2 years. You can't just upgrade the year you're in. You have to upgrade
From the
say
last time
version
you had a
15,
contract.
and you got a version 16, but you need version 15 to get 16, so you don't have a choice. Also in that is all the odds and ends that come with the radio, so we pay roughly $1,750 a month for fiber lines at the radio sites. We have a tower in Seymour at the EMAX site, which we pay, what do we pay, like $1,500 a month, $1,600. It went up another $150 a month this year, and then that contract's coming up again soon, so we're gonna have to renegotiate that and find out where that is. So these are all fluctuating numbers, and they're gonna be fluctuating for years to come.
Do you really? You're staying with Motorola? I know.
Yes.
I know. There's no question you're staying with Motorola. Yeah. And you,
All our equipment is Motorola.
and we're P25 system? Or
We are P25, yep.
And who's the maintenance contract? Is it with Motorola directly?
So the maintenance contract is with Motorola and Norcom Communications.
Okay. Yeah. They're so expensive. There's nothing you can do. I'm not saying there's any recourse.
Mhm.
Motorola is so expensive. Yeah.
But really, all our equipment is Motorola.
Do
Between our
you,
portables, mobiles, the stations, the dispatch consoles, everything is Motorola.
Do you do any cost allocations back to the police, or you hold the whole budget and the
We
town
hold-
just agrees it?
We hold the whole budget. The town knows that we hold the
You
whole
carry
budget
the
for all
budget.
3 of these things.
Yeah.
It was easier for us to hold it, and we hold the maintenance contracts for the generators at these sites, the propane or the diesel that fills the generators at these sites, the electric at these sites.
Yeah, and listen,
we
it
hold
makes
everything.
sense to have one party.
But I
hold
just
the
want you
contract.
guys to be aware of that number is not solely the fire
Fire,
department, that
yeah.
is Public Works and PD also.
But it's a little misleading on
is.
like public, right, opinion, because now they see this $185,000 or whatever, they're like, whoa, what's going on, right?
Right.
You could technically talk to Tony, I forget his last name, to do cost allocations back, right? You hold the contract, but you
I think
charge
it's-
the police.
It's easier to have it put in one item than pulling it out of 3 separate departments.
No, I don't disagree.
We talked about this.
Yeah, but you
before.
can like, for instance, like charge the police for it, right? Like you hold it, and it's in your budget.
I think it's a lot cleaner to do. We talked about this a few years ago when this contract came up, and it was easier and cleaner just to have it in one area rather than having
I
it
get it.
spread out. Because then to pull money out of another budget, you'd have to, multiple approvals and
Yeah,
then who's
yeah.
doing what and how is it getting
There's a
going
lot of
where.
clerical overhead
Yeah,
to do it.
so it's
But,
easier when
and
it's in
nobody
one.
said anything to you about like the
No.
fire budget's too much, right? So there's no reason.
Well, no, I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory, so if you,
Yeah.
you take some of these items out of our budget, and as we go through, even when we get down to like water, we pay for our building, we pay for the library, we pay for the center building, we pay for town hall, pay for Beecher Road School, we pay for Public Works, we pay the public service charge for the fire service charge. So when they have a sprinkler system, we're paying it out of our budget. So there's a lot of stuff in our budget that actually is for
Is for
other
the- yeah.
areas of the town.
I just think it's important as commissioners, I mean, it does make a difference if someone's looking at it, because it's basically the difference between this operating budget being under $1 million and over $1 million, all those things that we pay for
Correct.
other departments. And so it's just good to be able to educate
What's
people
also
if
interesting
necessary.
is we go down, like we have our own gas line where a lot of departments don't have like natural gas.
Yeah.
So it's lumped in, like the center building's lumped in just to the center building for natural gas. So anybody in the center building doesn't get charged really for natural gas. We're taking the whole lump of natural gas. We're taking the whole lump of,
Shouldn't we at least
Electricity.
consider footnotes that kind of make it clear that this line item includes
we can do
other
that.
town property and,
Yep,
Call
we
it,
can do that.
and
And we
name
usually
what
do,
they
when
are.
we go to the town to present, we
Yeah.
make it clear that this is
but
police,
if,
fire,
but if somebody
and
at
public
home,
works.
wants to go look at the budget and they're saying, look at this.
Shared
At least you have
services.
footnotes.
But in the
where we
budget
can-
that you get, it doesn't spell that out. This is spelled out just for us.
Yeah.
This isn't spelled out in the budget. You get the budget book, and the budget book only reflects like that first number. It'll tell you like,
Public safety.
Rich, if
radio
I go back
system,
here, right?
185.
If I go back communication radio on that line,
Yeah,
it's only gonna state that, and then it's gonna show this number, and then it's gonna show this number and this number.
Well, can we change the title of communication radio shared services or something?
You gotta talk to,
That's, so we've talked about this before on other line items, and so what they
That's all
have is,
GL stuff
and
on-
I think
on
Stephanie
budget.
could even
Yeah,
really,
they
so
just
all this
draw
equipment,
like-
all this stuff here
Yeah.
is what other town departments have, so it's
Standard,
like
yeah.
a
It's a
standard.
So you
uniform
can't-
system.
I don't
Yeah.
think you can really, you can't really add to it.
it's
Yeah.
So
finance.
so when you look at 54250 postage,
That's for everybody.
that's everybody, that's not just
Yeah.
54240 is postage for us, it's
That's the finance
everybody.
sub-account
Yes,
GL
yes.
number
You
for
got it.
postage.
You got it.
Communication, telephone, all that,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
all
yeah.
just standard.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, where am I here?
We
Hold on.
covered
Hold on.
public safety.
Right here,
postage.
so. any-
Okay, how about
any-
this?
yep.
One more thing. Can you, at the end of the budget, say fire budget, shared town service number total? No?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I can
Really,
check.
it's
I
a
don't believe so.
conversation for finance,
It's more,
not for
it's more
showing.
how it's laid out into the budget book, it's beyond our thing.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions on communications radio? Okay, postage, basically the same. Communication security services. This is another line, so it went up $1,000. We're adding the building in the back, so we have more licenses we have to do. But this line is interesting because this line is another shared line where, as you can see, we do town hall, public works, the center building, the firehouse, the old firehouse, the new training facility for the S2 control. That's all the door access controls throughout the town. So we actually have the brain of it here, and we have to keep upgrading the brain of it. So that's why it's in our budget, not somebody else's budget.
Did you put another, you guys are putting another note out? in
We
the
have to,
building?
yeah.
And did you pull, I didn't, I'm sorry, I'm catching up. Did you actually pull conduit from the old building to this building, or it's its own freestanding?
From this building to the storage facility, training
This
facility.
conduit?
Yep.
Yeah, good, awesome.
And there's gonna be fiber running from here to that building.
So you
And
don't
there'll
have
be a
to,
switch over there.
you don't have to pull its own internet, you're just gonna,
We're gonna tap
Provide
off
it
of
from
this
here.
building.
Yeah, that's good.
By fiber. Any questions on that?
oh, and then the propane is for backup generators, right? You mentioned propane
So
earlier.
propane on the communication radio is, we have two generators 2 generators on the radio sets that use propane and 1 generator that uses diesel.
Oh, I'm sorry, you said natural gas. The natural gas lines are for the propane, for the generators, right?
No, natural gas is totally separate.
It's just for
Natural
heat.
gas is for here,
Okay,
okay?
all right, thanks.
Sure. Okay, conferences, these went up just a little bit, nothing major. Training went up $5,000. We continue it, so the way training works is our EMT is actually, it's an ongoing thing, where before it used to be every 3 year, now it's every 2 years, but within those 2 years, you have to do like CMUs, you have to do classes, you have to do a lot of other things. Plus, which is actually a good thing, is we have 4 new firefighters. 2 of them are in class, 2 of them are prospective members, actually 3 of them now are prospective, so total of 5. And then our junior program is coming up this year, and we're gonna have, what did we figure, 4 to 5 kids coming off the junior program, turning 18, that are gonna join the fire department. So it's a good thing, but those numbers have to show it. Any questions on that? Okay, programs and publicity, that went up $1,500. That line is solely for all the fire prevention that we do throughout the year. So that's all the little red fire hats, the coloring books, the crayons, the stickers, the badges, whatever Joe buys. And we do a lot of fire prevention. We do, what, 1,000 kids?
Just during October.
Just October, we do 1,000 kids, and then the end of October, at trick or treat, we do more fire prevention there, and then we do fire prevention throughout the year.
You get the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts.
So the reason why this line went up, 1 is because the little red fire hats are going up in price. Okay? 2, we had some stock, we burned through it, so we don't have anything left. So we're anticipating this costing more. So this is strictly fire prevention. Any questions on that? Office, that's pretty self-explanatory, it only went up $200. Computers stayed the same, meeting supplies stayed the same. Technical, this is the everyday stuff. So speedy dry, water, drip pans, plug and dyke, all the everyday supplies that we use on a scene come out of this line. And I mean, everything has gone up dramatically in the last couple of years, and it's still going up. So for us to continue doing what we do, this is a realistic number. You guys want to see the percentage? Okay. Fire marshal expense went up $500. That's all the stuff Joe needs, code books and different things like that, along with whatever uniforms he needs. Gear replacement, so this is a big number. So this is, so we're at 45,000 this year. Just to put it in perspective, and we're going up to 82,000, we're looking for $82,000 this year. This is a big number, and the reason being is, 1, we have all the new recruits coming in, and we have to supply them gear. The gear on the shelf is expired and no good anymore, so gear has a 10-year shelf. Doesn't matter what it looks like or whatever else. 10 years and the gear is shot. That doesn't mean all gear lasts 10 years. So if the guy is really active and it wears away, it shows any redness on the arms, the gear has to be taken out of service. It's no good. The average set of just to buy the bunker pants and the jacket is $4,500. So that doesn't include boots. Boots are roughly another $400 to $450. A hood, a Nomex hood they put on so they don't burn their ears. Protect their neck, it's $100. Gloves is about $150. And then extrication gloves are another $80. So when you put all these things together, and then you have to supply an air mask, you're looking at probably $6,000 $6,500 a guy to outfit. So what this does is we have to get the newer guys gear that fits, because it can't be loose gear, it's gotta be fit to their contour for them to go to fire school. And gear is usually about 3 to 4 months out when you order it. And then on top of that, anybody's gear that's 10 years old gear has to be replaced. So next year we need to replace at least 16 sets of gear.
Plus the new recruits.
No, that would
We're
include it.
including-
We're roughly thinking that we might be a little bit short. Now, also in that line, just so you know, and it may change over the next few months, OSHA is proposing a change where the firefighters need a second set of gear. So when their gear is out of service, getting cleaned and decontaminated, they're requiring a second set of gear. So that number, if that does come, and they started it at the beginning of last year, we had to go to multiple meetings on it, and there's other things that come along with it, but gear is one big thing, because they don't want you to breathe the carcinogens and everything after a fire. We'd have to go going back to the town and asking for probably a couple $100,000 to purchase a second set of gear for everybody.
With a 10-year life.
10-year life, yeah, it doesn't
Wow.
change, yeah. So the laws are all dictating a lot of this, so any questions on the gear? And this is something we can't even bend. So if the gear is 10 years, we're done. If the gear has redness, the gear is out of service, the gear is ripped, or anything, it has to come out of service. Some of the gear we can go and get stitched up and fixed, but at that point, you're on borrowed time with the gear anyway, and we do fix gear, and then once it hits the 10 years, we're done. But we have guys that are really active that will burn through a set of gear in about 6 years. So 10 years is the max. We got gear that, some of the gear has to be replaced in 6 years. So what we try to do is, when the gear is getting up in age, we want to take that gear, give it to the probationary people coming in, the new guys coming in, get the other guy a new sets of gear, because when they go to fire school, we don't want to put brand new gear into that and destroy it or get it all
Wear and
torn
tear.
off, wear and tear. We'd rather use the older gear and do it, and then do that.
This is your gear, this is OpEx budget though, right? That's what we're reviewing here?
I'm sorry?
This is operational budget?
Operational, yep.
Why aren't you, what's the capital threshold? Like, why isn't gear replacement a
Because this is an
budgeted
ongoing
capital?
thing every year. Capital is usually a one-shot, one specific thing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's not they don't, capital, you
It's
don't
a
put money in every
consumable.
single year. Right,
That's why it's
Yes.
OpEx, because it's a consumable.
correct. And capital, usually it's a big ticket item that lasts.
It's
10,
a
15,
capital
20
asset
years,
that's
yes.
depreciated over a 5-year term. Or
You
whatever.
got it.
Right, okay.
Any other questions? Tires are self-explanatory. I think we're gonna be okay on tires come next year. I went over it with the engineer and saw the tires that are coming up, so that line will definitely go, but I think we're gonna be okay. And there's some years, like last year, we had to increase because we had a lot of tires coming up. The last couple of years, we had to increase, and not this year's budget we're talking about. Next year's budget, we'll probably have to increase again.
And that's not included in the repair maintenance machine?
No, tires are a totally separate line item. Gas, oil, diesel, propane,
Do you carry the propane as a shared service for the town, or is
no,
it
so the
just-
propane, that is a different line. So propane, it's just how it's labeled in the program.
Yeah.
We don't have propane anymore.
Okay.
Not a lot of the town has, no one, we're all on natural gas.
Yeah.
Except for like the generator sites.
Right, right. Okay.
But that comes out of that other line that we talked about, radio communications. So anything dealing with the radio site comes out of that radio line.
Right,
It doesn't come out of any other line.
right.
Okay, so gas. I'm sorry, electric for the buildings. So here's the deal, right? So everybody got hit with this public service charge, right? Public benefits charge. We're averaging roughly $1,300 a month here, just here alone, not including like the radio sites and everything else. So when we do the math on what we have, it comes out to like $76,800. So we added roughly $10,000 for the building in the back. We're figuring roughly $1,000 a month for the new training / storage facility in the back. But with the public service charge, so we're figuring like $800 for that and $200 for the public benefit charge. Here's the issue, guys. This line and the natural gas line, if you look, we're at 32,000 this year, and we're looking, we're gonna need 80 grand. Forget about the building in the back. So our BMS system, over the years, we've taken some big hits. Power hits, the microgrid testing. So a BMS system is a building management system. That's what our heat and air conditioning, all our HVAC, we can't control it. So right now, basically, we're trying to, so if you're in this room, you might be a little chilly. If you go out there, you're warm. There's no way to really control the system because the system's so old, it's obsolete, and no one can
So there's
no
no
one can fix it.
efficiency.
There's no fixing of it. So when we get to capital, you're gonna see it. But if we were to change out the building management system, which would make sense to do, and this is a serious conversation we're gonna have at budget time, and we put $150,000 as a placeholder into capital, these numbers will come down dramatically. So we're probably, our gas bill for a month is, what are we paying between Spark Energy and that?
Spark is contracted, so the Southern Connecticut Gas is like $9.79. Spark is like, can be upwards of over 2,000, 3,000.
Plus the gas bill.
Plus
So
the
we
gas
have, like, even over the last few months, we've had bills $7,000 a month.
So like my
I've
area
talked
is
to
cold.
Tony, I've talked to Tony about this. We need to fix the building management system so we can control the heat. And there's some upgrades that we have to do and will be better. So these numbers will this number and this number should come down by at least $25,000 each number. But the public service charge, there's nothing we're gonna do about it, we're all paying it. So right off the hop, at 1,300, what are we looking at? We're looking at another 15,000 plus a year just with the public benefit charge. Electricity, we're locked in, I think, for 3 more years. So our electric, even though we have letters that UI is going up, we're locked in at a rate. So our rate is actually pretty good. So our rate's not going up, it's the public benefit charge, and we can't control the HVAC in the building anymore.
And there's no exemptions to the public benefits charge?
No.
No entity
Solar.
So
can claim
we're paying,
exemption?
we're paying it, and the town is,
Yeah.
the town is paying it across the board.
All the town
So it's
buildings.
all the town buildings, the schools, everybody's in the same boat right now. But we're a little bit different because our numbers are going up dramatically because we can't control
The heat.
the heat. So meaning we can't control the gas usage or the electric usage.
Think about all those times you walk by your utility room at home and you're like, why is my furnace running right now? That's what Sean is doing every day in the building.
It's bad. I mean, I cringe when we get these bills because we budgeted 32 and 42, and that should have been plenty for this year. This is what we're looking to probably be at. We're at an 82% increase there, and we're at a 150% increase there. So,
We already met our 32.
what?
Remember, we already maxed out, we already met our 32. That's
Yeah,
right.
we already maxed out. We already maxed out our
maxed out.
lines right now.
Yeah,
That
we
should
maxed
have
out.
carried us
So
pretty
who
much through the year.
recommended the building management system?
So when the building was built, they wanted to put a building management system in.
Who's they?
The town, the committee at the time wanted to put a building management system in, which is good and bad. so you can maintain the temperature, and instead of everybody going and touching the thermostat, you set the temperature, and the temperature is supposed to basically level itself. But where we are now, you have to, the system we have is not upgradable. So now the
So
system
it
we're
ran for a
looking.
while
Yeah.
and functioned properly.
Correct,
It
but
is
when you
no
keep
longer-
taking power hits, we're having issues. So the control box on the thing, you'll see it's a CTC on it.
Yeah,
No one can work on that. No one really can utilize that, but CTC and the program's so old, they can't even work on it. It's so obsolete. So, and remember, this building is really, everybody talks about the new firehouse. This isn't a new firehouse anymore.
anymore.
This is an '09 building. We moved in early '09. So this building's already, what, 15, 16 years old. So the equipment and the stuff in this building is not brand new anymore. We're having issues. We're paying, we had a circulator blow up from the microgrid because it took a power hit. We're having other issues. We had fan motors go, we had blower motors go. So we're having multiple issues here. So this, we can control this, but we need to upgrade the system. We also talked about getting rid of a building management system and doing conventional thermostats.
Right.
We can do that, but that might even cost even more because the whole building has to be rewired.
Wow.
So it's not an easy fix, like, because I was thinking, you know what, let's just take these things off, let's just go back to conventional thermostats. It's not that easy to do because you still have to balance all the rooms, and you'd have to put zone dampers in and everything else to redirect the airflow, where right now, we're controlling the dampers in each room. So basically, for a system to do that, we're looking at possibly not only upgrading or redoing it, all the wiring, we're talking about taking the ceilings all down, ripping some of the ductwork out, reworking the ductwork, and then putting the system back in. These numbers don't include like new rooftop units or anything. So rooftop units usually last about 20 years, give or take. If you're lucky, maybe you get 25 out of them. They're not really efficient, but you might really get that out of them. So we're coming, and when we talk to our HVAC people, we're not that far away from end of life on some of this equipment.
You're talking air handlers and
Sure,
compressors.
absolutely. Because remember, we're pretty close to 20 years already. But the ductwork and the building management system would stay the same basically. So these are huge numbers, and I think when we go, we're gonna really get into this because I think this is really important, because I think this is just wasteful money that we're paying every month. We're paying thousands every month.
Burning
Where
through it.
we're better off biting the bullet and putting the new system in and putting this money toward the new system, because we have to do this. In the summertime, like right now, our natural gas bill is really high, our electric bill is high. I'm not gonna say it's low, but in the summertime, our electric bill is way high. So our electric bill should be about, if we didn't have the public service charge, probably about $3,600. We're north of $5,000, $6,000. So we could in theory, even if we were to lease it, we're better off doing it this way and paying off the equipment rather than spending it on electricity or gas.
Do you think with a new building management system that 80,000 come back down into the 30,000 range? Or do you think it's?
So it all depends,
I mean, it's
because
all
right now you have
speculation.
Spark Energy. I think everybody's in the same boat. I think the natural gas, and remember, we have this building, but we haven't seen what that building in the back is gonna do to us, so we
Just
added a little extra
assume
in
that's
the back
not there.
over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'd be in that range.
Yeah.
Have you ever
I do.
considered solar?
We did, so the town looked at solar, they did a whole study on it, because they were looking to put solar on our building, and the solar would have to go on the back side of the roof in Public Works. So what it would cost to put the solar on and the payback, we would never see it. It would cost the town more money to put the solar on than what we would get back.
Do you know how long ago they looked at that?
3 years ago?
3 years ago?
Yeah.
Every time the solar people come
It
along
wasn't
my
that- it wasn't
property,
that long
Isn't there something with the microgrid that we can't put solar on our buildings?
So that did come up, so with the microgrid system, you really can't have solar, but the microgrid,
voted.
we're not
We voted.
going on the microgrid anymore. Yes.
I think on building management, right, the ROI could easily justify the capital expense. It's whether or not the town is gonna prioritize that work.
I think they need to prioritize it. When I talked to the finance director, I think we need to prioritize, that needs to be prioritized because it's just wasteful spending. And at some point, you gotta do it. It's just, it's not, guys, we're not talking $3,000 or $4,000 over a year. We're talking thousands every month.
And they say what building management systems will last a decade.
So we wouldn't be looking at a system like that. We'd be looking at like a Honeywell or something like that
Yeah.
where anybody can really work on it and the parts are readily available
Yeah.
and they're easy. They're pretty, nothing's elaborate on it. Are there fees to it every year? Absolutely.
Yeah,
But it's not, we're not gonna be at the boat we're in now. It's like the radio system, right? So you have to pay for software upgrades, hardware upgrades and all that. But it's basically like you have a new system.
and they
Now,
said,
the equipment's not gonna last forever, so
Yeah.
your rooftop unit, you'd still have to replace probably in another few years.
another capital expense.
Correct.
But it's, you said 150 is kind of the guesstimate on a new building?
That's what we're hearing, but we would have to go out the bid, we'd have to write a bid spec and then go out the bid for, a new system because it's north of $10,000.
Yeah.
So either you go out the bid, give a bid waiver, or you can buy it off the state contract. All
That's,
three require the Board of Selectmen.
That's the 10,000 is the threshold.
10,000 is the threshold, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, listen, right, at a 5-year depreciation, $150,000 CapEx is 30,000 a year. Just on your numbers, it covers itself, right?
Right.
It's convincing.
I think,
the-
guys, if we replace this, I think we're gonna be pretty close to where we are.
Yeah,
We should only be talking about public service charges, public benefit charge, and figure out how we're gonna be here.
yeah,
I mean, take away the building in the back, but
yeah.
right now, we got a bigger problem here that we need to address. Okay. Natural gas, we talked about water, we talked about hydrants. Hydrants, the water company's going up 7.5% on the hydrants. We don't have a choice. This is the cost to have access for the water. The town owns the hydrants, all the other towns around own the hydrants. It's not like the water company owns them. We own the hydrants, the other town owns the hydrants, so we're responsible for that, and we're not paying for water usage, we're paying to have access to the water. And the access to the water is based upon the number of feet of line that the town has. So it's so many pennies per foot of water main. So a few years ago, they extended the water main down to the animal shelter. We have to bridge that gap and we have to pay so many pennies per foot all the way down to the water company, and then we're responsible, like in the wintertime, or if somebody has an accident, hits a hydrant, and they leave, we're responsible to fix the hydrant, so that ranges anywhere usually between $600 to $800, all the way up to about $7,000 or $8,000 a hydrant.
But you file those to insurance claims?
No, so if let's say you hit a hydrant, we go after your insurance pays for the hydrant. You hit a hydrant and take off, we pay for the hydrant.
We don't get to submit it to the town insurance as
They
like
don't,
a,
they,
well covered?
no,
Too big of a deductible, probably,
Right.
right?
When the water company expands the system, though, they pay for the upgrade.
they pay for the upgrade, but we pay for the we pay for whatever,
Access.
let's say they extended 500 feet, we pay for the 500 feet. We pay so many pennies per foot for the
For
500 feet.
access, but we don't buy the
Yes.
pipe, pay for the pipe and the installation.
No,
No,
when they
it's
put-
just like your water service at home, if you have public, city water.
Yeah.
You pay for your frontage. That's basically
Woodbridge.
what it is. Now,
That's not what
if
that
they
is.
extend it, we pay for all footage.
How many hydrants?
We have about 140 hydrants.
That's not even the whole town.
No, that's only 10% of the town.
Okay.
That's
So like
down in
New Haven, what
New Haven
were
must
you
be
paying
on.
in New Haven?
Paying?
Or what were they?
It was $1 million change when I retired, but I've out there 14 years.
So probably way up there now.
Do you mind going back up to the cell phone? I had some comments, questions. How much is the cell phone? And it's not really financial, it's more just
No,
curiosity.
capacity.
Did I?
Go down a little bit.
Right here.
Cell phones, data modem.
Yeah. You guys are running
iPads.
FirstNet?
We were running FirstNet, yep.
FirstNet.
No, we have Verizon.
Verizon.
We have Verizon and
Oh,
FirstNet.
because AT&T is not great coverage out here. or-
So, depends on where you are in town. Sometimes FirstNet is better than Verizon, but sometimes Verizon is better than FirstNet. So, we're at like a catch-22, but they are looking to put that tower up on Newton Road, which would be a Verizon tower. So, we don't
Does
really.
Service
Verizon
has
have
gone
you
down.
classified?
Service has gone
It's
down over
gone
the last
down.
few years.
AT&T
Yeah.
has too.
They both have.
Yeah.
So,
You know what I
They're
think? I
playing
think
games.
they got, I think whoever they were leasing tower space raised the prices and I think Verizon literally took antennas off the network because they didn't want to pay.
So,
It's an assumption,
I can
but
tell you, like in this building alone, it doesn't, if you have, we have Verizon in here, we have a
Drops.
Verizon booster, which we needed it because otherwise you couldn't make a phone call in here on your
Yeah.
cell phone, so.
I put one
and
in my
before-
house.
And before, we were great, now we have,
Yeah.
this is a commercial booster, and it boosts the signal through the building, so right now, we have it, and they actually give it to us.
so do
They're usually
you,
about $1,000.
are you classified as first responder for Verizon to get priority and preemption?
Yes.
Or are you just
We are,
consumer
so
line?
we have that and we have FirstNet.
And you have FirstNet?
Yep.
And when you say like cell phones, data modems and iPads, we're talking even the modems in the trucks, like I'm assuming your
Yep.
trucks have AVLs.
They do. We usually just use the iPads, and the
Yeah,
iPads are all cellular because when we leave here, we need to be able to communicate.
is that what you're using as like your data terminals, is
Yeah.
iPads?
Yep. So we're not
And,
using tough books. We used to.
And you used to use ToughBooks, huh?
Yeah.
And then do you, have you talked to Verizon about machine-to-machine pricing?
What do you mean machine to machine?
So when it comes to your data modems and
Yep.
your iPads, you can talk to them about a reduced per month charge because you're not unlimited data. You do machine to machine where it's like literally you're not picking up a phone to make a call on an iPad.
we have a special government pricing where we pay unlimited. It's unlimited data basically
Yeah.
for a set number.
Yeah.
So it would only pay, otherwise if we were to take that off, you only save maybe $2 a month. It doesn't pay, but if you go over the usage, then you get whacked on it again. So we're on an unlimited plan on all these things, and
So
it's cheap.
so like the enterprise, right, that I work for, we took all our data modems across the country, which is a much larger footprint.
You're talking data
For
modems,
sure.
we're not talking data modems. We're talking iPads.
But you don't have AVLs at all in the vehicles?
So we have, it's called,
Cradle points?
what's that? No, well, we have a Cradle Point here, and we have another Cradle Point, but Cradle Points aren't driving it. Cradle Points are the same cost as the,
Yeah.
whatchamacallit. They're not that bad, they're only like $40 a month.
The subscription, the
Cradle
LTE
point.
cost, yeah, but the non-reoccurring charge to buy the physical Cradle point is like $2,800.
We actually buy the Cradle Points, I wanna say we bought them for like $1,000 a piece.
Oh, we're doing good then.
Yeah,
We put all of our non-cell phones on pooled gigabit plans at like $10 a month. And we literally never go over because how much data are you really transmitting when you say I'm responding? It's not gonna make a huge dent but it's something to consider.
Right, but we're not just saying I am responding, it's more, so you got Joe's phone, my phone.
Yeah, and those gotta stay on
Yeah,
unlimited
so
calling,
they're-
I'm
they're-
not changing
They're on
any of
it,
that.
so when you look at it, they're all tied together on a separate plan.
Yeah,
So, we look at it usually every year, year and a half.
it's not a huge number, so I mean, when you look parts per million, there's bigger lines to
Right.
focus on anyways.
Okay.
So what's the process? You submit this OpEx budget to,
So what I had to do is usually we go through this budget, and we're gonna, if we could just keep finishing, you guys have to vote on the operating budget, and then we'll get to the capital line, the capital side of it, but you guys vote on it, if you agree with it, if we wanna make any changes, we can make changes to it, and then I had to submit it, but I submitted it as a draft,
yeah,
but it's still waiting for your approval. That's why we needed the meeting, because I think on February 4th, I have to go present this. So I needed to get this into the packet. If we make any deviations or we want to change anything, this is the night to change it. We'll send a memo over tomorrow, make the necessary changes.
And if we approve it, it's to recommend to the town
That this is the
that
budget.
they approve the budget that,
Correct. And then we have
We
to go
voted on.
present that on February 4th. Yes.
do you have sacrificial lambs in your head when and if the town comes to you and says, I need to see a 10% reduction?
I can't give you a 10% reduction. That I can tell you right now.
Yeah.
A lot of these are mandated on what we need to do. This
Right.
isn't even like, it's not like a wish list. These are like mandated.
Have to do's.
Yeah, so like testing, we don't have a choice here. That's
No,
why I
for
was
sure.
going through. A lot of these things we have to do. The other big thing that the town is big in, and we just went through a thing, and I don't know how we ended up, but there is going to be, cybersecurity is huge. So we might end up having to do something else for cybersecurity after this audit. And I know the town's working on it, the PD, we're on it. But the town is huge on cybersecurity, especially for the insurance, so they don't get hacked. I know the town is looking, or they're going to .gov from .org to .gov. And we're actually looking, we have our IT people looking in, because right now we're .com. So we're looking to see if we can go to .gov. So these are all things that
there's
are,
layers of security
Yeah,
by making that
yes.
switch.
I
right,
think
so
we
it
have to
depends. .com, .org, .gov, whatever, they're all big things, so these are all things that we're gonna end up having to do at some point. So right now, when we go and the town switches over to .gov, I'll have like an email of sroland@woodbridgefire.gov through the town, but it will redirect it all to .com that I get. But at some point, we need to change everybody's email in the department to .gov. So cybersecurity is huge right now.
And that carries its own financial burden.
Correct, so.
It's
and
not
then-
small, it's
Right, and same deal with, like, we're on Office 365. There's other things that we have to do with Office 365 that the new mandates are coming down, which IT is looking into to see what we have to do. So right now, we have something which is it's pretty awesome. So we have something called TechSoup, which as a volunteer 501c3, we can get Office 365 and we pay $0. If we were to go Office 365, I haven't priced it out in probably a bunch of years, but it was, I think it went by the license, so it depends on how many users you have on that, you have to pay. So it could cost us thousands of dollars to make a move like that if we had to. So, you're right, so we're trying to manage a lot of this, so when we look at what can we take out, we really don't have a lot to take out here. Okay, water hydrants. Machinery, 7,500, that stayed the same. That 7,500 is to replace the monitors. They got the communication pagers, the guys that carry on their belts, to let them notify when there's a call. It goes off, it's the audio tone. Nate, do you have one on it?
No, I don't.
Okay. So it's a pager on the side of your belt, so we have to keep doing that to keep up with it. All right. that's the operating budget.
Anyone have any questions about any item?
You wanna increase something, decrease something, talk about anything, or do you guys wanna vote on it?
I think he explained
Yeah,
pretty
you
clearly
explained
as to
everything.
Okay.
why it is the way it is. Do we want to vote on them separately, or?
Yeah, I think we should vote on them separately. All right, can I have a motion to approve the operating budget to recommend to the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance as presented
I'll make that motion.
For FY '26.
for FY '26? Amend the motion to include that. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion?
No further discussion.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes.
Nice job, Sean.
Okay, thank you. So now let's go to, this is capital. So these are big ticket items, these are trucks, stuff like that, that's not an operating budget, it's a capital line. So,
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do we have to approve that tonight also?
yes, we're presenting everything on,
Yeah,
See,
we're
you're-
doing it all together now.
3 years ago, last year was the first year, but capital budget used to go first, and we used to talk about that and approve that here, and then we used to go and have a meeting in January for our capital, and then operating was due the beginning of January, we went to February to present our operating. Now, it's all lumped together, which I think is way too much. I think it still needs to be separate. I don't like how it's done now, but it's meant to minimize the amount of meetings. Okay, hydrant preparation and painting. So we haven't painted hydrants in 30 years. Last time we did it, or pretty close, last time we painted hydrants was 1996. So if you go around town, or when you leave here in the next couple of days, you look around town, they're all rusted. They all need to be scraped down, basically wire brushed, cleaned up, sandblasted, and then repainted. We just don't have the manpower to do it. I got a number from
Can
a
we get
company
the Boy
that does
Scouts to
it.
do it?
The Boy Scouts used to do it.
Did they?
Yeah, but it was, it's a task now. It's not easy, but we got a price to do all that, and it's $84,000.
But that's not for this fiscal year. You have it for next.
Correct.
Fiscal year
I
for,
moved it out, but we get there's a lot of people that complain about the way the hydrants look. So we can more leave it up to the Board of Selectmen, whether we want to fund that this year and clean the hydrants and get them painted, because they do look really bad.
Shouldn't we propose it this year and then let them move it out?
We could do that. So do you want to make that change?
Well, I just think that's smarter from our perspective. If we're getting complaints and it hasn't been done in many years,
Hasn't been done in 30 years. Problem is, we have a lot of capital up this year.
yeah, I don't know.
this is for 2026.
Correct.
Capital budget.
Starting
which
in
is-
July 1,
Okay, it starts July 1st.
yes.
And the FY 2026 capital costs are dollars that you were approved for in this fiscal year.
Dollars in
That we
2026.
we will be opposing.
No, this is what
Yeah.
this is what we're
Proposing.
looking at. This is what we're proposing.
What happened to the stuff that got approved for 25?
So you have to go into last year's budget and see it, but we're gonna talk about it as we go down.
Did
I'll
we?
let you know.
Okay.
Yep.
So
So-
I would say defer it.
This program also changed from last year, where before you could see what the capital budget was last year.
Right.
So
Now
this is
we'll
another
lay
new
it.
program, so we had to relearn again on this side,
Yeah.
where it was a task just to see when we looked at the operating, what the percentage increase was.
Right.
So you gotta bear with us a little bit here.
I hate budget season.
It's
the worst.
Okay, so what we're proposing, so we'll move the hydrant to FY '26, yes? Karen, no?
I don't know, what do you guys think?
I would recommend pushing it to 27 and leave the stuff on 26 that you need to execute on. I mean, rusted
We're
hydrants.
gonna talk about it as we go. Maybe we'll talk about this right
I was
after.
gonna say,
Let's go
explain
through
the
it and then
whole
we'll go.
year.
Yep. So HVAC we talked about, we put a placeholder in about $150,000. Okay. Engine 2. So this is a 2003 engine, and this engine is 23 years old. Okay. If we engines usually in a town like ours usually last about 20 years. We try to get 25 years out of them. If we were to order a new engine today, right, we're looking at 2 to 3 years out before we see an engine. It's not like we're gonna order one now and see one in a year. We're seeing 10 months to a year. We're seeing it 2 to 3 years out. So we have to figure out when we're gonna order them.
Why? Is it a change in
Yeah,
supply
it's
chain?
a supply chain issue, volume, everything, across the board. Now, when we order, let me just make it clear, and this is gonna go through most of them. If we were to order an engine today, or a tower today, or whatever, right? And it's 3 years out, let's say, right? They're built-in escalators, and you have to be careful. So if you can make a deal, and let's say a truck, you're not gonna buy an engine nowadays for under $1 million, okay? So let's say it's $1 million today, the engine, right? And they get to your build number in 2 years from now, because it takes roughly a while for it to sit, and then when it gets to the build, if it goes up 10%, they pick the phone up and call you and say, your number went up 10%, it went up $100,000, so now your engine that you thought was $1 million it's 1.1 million. So now you have the option right then and there, and you can't spend a lot of time. Do you want to spend an extra $100,000 and put the engine in, or do you want to cancel your order? Now, if you cancel your
Now you
order,
wasted 2 years
now you
waiting.
just waited 2 years. Now you don't get it. Now you go back into the pool, and now when you replace your order and it's 1.1 in 2 years, when your number comes up again, you have to decide what the escalator is. If you can get it locked in when you sign the contract on the truck, it's great. And if you can get the fire truck manufacturer, it doesn't matter who, if you can get them to agree to that, you're ahead of the game. But you gotta
When is your
remember,
first
your
payment
truck is
due?
2 to 3 years out. So now, here's the thing. So let's talk about, an engine 2 is a bad, let's talk about engine 2. So this would be a new truck, so right? So we put $260,000 in next year's capital budget for engine 2, right? So what I learned over the years is, and I've tried to do this and tried to be proactive about it, but what happens is Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, no disrespect, we look at what is coming up in the current year coming up, right? Because we want to try to keep taxes down. If we were to order a truck and it takes 3 years to come in, right? We usually lease purchase a truck. That means our payment is usually due at the end of year 4. So when we look at our capital budget, we're putting in FY26 to say, hey, we need to order this truck now,
You're reserving the money.
right? We're not even asking for money. We're saying we need to talk about it. So we need to authorize us to go out and and start speccing a truck, which takes about 6 months to do. Then we go off of an HGAC contract, meaning the Houston Galveston contract. It's like the state of Connecticut contract. It's already been negotiated and everything. So now you take that number, you go back to the Board of Selectmen, and you get the approval to order it. You still don't need the money. So now your clock starts ticking for 3 years. So let's say it takes 3 years to build the truck. So you take delivery on the truck in 3 years. Now your payment, if you pay it in arrears, is due in year 4. So when we look at it, if we buy a truck now or we want to do a truck in 26, our first payment might not be due until 2030. So, but if we put it out into 2030, where the number is realistically going to be 29 or 30, we're not talking about it and we can't authorize it. Well, your capital budget is out, your truck is out 4 more years. The truck's not out 4 more years. The payment's out 4 more years, but the truck itself isn't out 4 more years. We're an odd department because our equipment takes so long for it to come in.
So you're
So
basically saying.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So when you look at this number here, guys,
You're
right?
basically
So
saying
we're
that
looking
you
for
wanna-
we're looking for $1,288,498 this year, right? Next year, right? We're not really looking for that number,
No.
right?
You're not gonna spend it.
You're
in
telling-
the
We're not
fiscal
spending that
year.
number, we don't care about that number, but that's the number that comes up on the budget, which I disagree with, because there's no way for us to get in front of the board without putting a number in front of this.
So you're signing a contract today
Yep,
for a truck that comes in 3 years.
yep,
And then in year 4, you have to pay
for year one,
for the contract you signed today.
correct.
And what you're really telling them is to put the money aside.
We're
So
saying
in
the
year
payments coming up
Yeah.
in year 4, so we have the budget for it and figure it out. So now, if you look at a true 6-year capital plan,
Yeah.
now your true 6-year capital plan is actually even. So what we want to see is,
Yeah. So
we don't want to see this all the time, right? We don't want to see zigzags,
Yeah.
right? But if we could stay somewhat level, right? That's what we want to see.
You're basically asking the town to set the money aside.
Well, you're obligating the money.
You're like
You're not obligating any money. All you're doing is you're actually
How do you not
agreeing-
obligate
you're-
money when you sign a
You're,
contract?
yes, you are saying, yes, you're on the hook for X dollars.
Right.
But then there's a clause in the contract where, let's say, we get the truck, we make the first payment for, let's say it's $260,000, right? Next year, it has to get voted on again. So let's say the town votes on the budget, right? In theory, the truck gets repoed. That's how it works. I forgot it's called a clause, and I forgot the
Yeah.
clause, it's on the tip of my tongue. But, yes, all you're approving is you can approve the money for that specific year. Even though you're signing the contract, if the money doesn't come, the truck gets repoed.
So, really what we're trying to do is avoid having a $1.8 million spend in year 4,
Correct.
whatever the cost of the vehicle is, right? The 1.3
So you have, but here's the thing, right? So our truck right now is 23 years old. The average life, so we had engine 7 that broke down at a fire, it was 24 years old. It took us 2 years to get the truck, and we were struggling for 2 years before we got the truck. So it's not like we can go out, buy a truck tomorrow, and get it here in 6 months.
Right.
So you have to look, you have to look out 4 years. You have to look out 2 to 3 years and where you're gonna be in 2 to 3 years.
But if you get this approved for fiscal year '26 and you don't need it till '30,
They're not gonna fund it in 26. They'll fund it in 30. When they get closer to 30, then they'll fund it. Because they know in the back of their head, or the finance director knows, hey, in this year, we have to start funding this truck.
so they won't actually keep this money on the books.
No. So
So they're
even
not
if we were to,
allocating
even
it
if we
this
were
year.
to buy engine 2, even if we were to buy engine 2 this year, right? Let's say we buy it. Truck's coming in 3 years, right? And we'll work out the lease payments later if we decide to lease it. Our payment's not due for the 4th year, so we're not gonna put 260,000 this year. We're not putting 260 next year, 260 the following year, 260, and now our payment's due. Because now we have all this money. What they'll do is, they'll put the 260,000 in year 4,
Look at it, 3.
not year 1, 2, and 3 while it's being built, or
Then
sitting
pay it
there.
off. Next year's not.
That's why it always made sense to have a truck reserve fund, where you're putting a specific amount in each year.
Yeah.
And then as these trucks come up, now you're basically taking from that account and you're paying for the truck. It's
And
like
you may have
budgeting.
to go back and ask
And you may
for
have to
that
go and ask for
escalation.
50,000 or
But
whatever
now
that
it's
number is. Here,
So why can't we set that up?
so we had it, the town took it away. It's not that we took it away, the finance department and everybody took that away. They didn't want a truck reserve because with the truck reserve, right? All we would have to do is go to the Board of Selectmen, because the money's already been appropriated, we wouldn't have to go to the Board of Finance. Right now, we have to go to the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance when we have to get a truck approved. If they approve a truck reserve, all we have to do is go and get Board of Selectmen approval
to spend
to spend it, because the money's sitting
it
there.
in reserve?
Finance guy
Correct.
wants to be in the conversation.
Correct.
Let me ask you a question. How many vehicles have you done in this process?
I've done.
With your tenure here at Woodbridge?
Think or 8. Oh, with me being chief, or
Or what's the other option?
how long I've been in the department?
How long you've been chief? Let's say you've been chief.
14 years.
Okay, so how many vehicles have you done, had this agreement with finance to do it like this in the capital budget, the way that you have portrayed here?
Think or 8, 7, 9, 3.
Half dozen?
Maybe 5.
Yeah. I mean, this is the agreement you have with, you know, current
The
finance
process,
director.
listen, here's the deal. The process works. I'm not saying the process doesn't work. What I'm saying though is the only way we're gonna start having serious conversations on how we're gonna budget this, and they need to be a part of this because these are big ticket items.
Yeah.
And how we're gonna keep a level line and how we're gonna manage a budget moving forward is we need to separate these payments. So it might make sense if like, and when we get down here, engine 3, I think we have one more payment of engine 3 for 175,528. Maybe next year when that truck falls off, we put that 175,528 up into engine 2, let's say, and now our budget doesn't ever increase, it will just stay the same, and then if we need to increase 25,000, it's a little blurb.
Well, that's basically
Where if we
a
fall, if we
reserve.
take the $175,000 out, right, 528 off, we have a dramatic drop, and then we're gonna have a dramatic spike again.
And then they're gonna be asking you to justify the spike when that comes around. right?
Correct.
Happy to take that drop, but like justify the spike.
Absolutely.
Joe, see how these are, all those are pending.
So see
All
these
those are all
pending- see
The
these
only
pending-
new ones are the ones, the top 3. Everything else is pending. Those have already been previously.
So they
submitted.
were-
Those have
they
already
already
been
know about it.
obligated.
Correct.
Right.
Those have all
Correct.
already
So now
been
let's-
So
obligated.
we only have 3 then to,
Yeah.
that are
No,
an issue.
no, we have all of them.
But
So
3 new
we
ones.
have to present it. Well, no, like let's take the Chiefs vehicle, right? So
That's
engine
on
2,
last year's
so
budget.
engine 2, let's just talk about engine 2. So we have 2 options here. Engine 2 is a 2003 E1 Cyclone, right? We do have the option, either we go new, which was probably gonna be about $1.3 million, which we estimated, right? Or we can take the current truck we have, basically strip it down, repaint it, repower it, redo a bunch of stuff, and we could probably do that for about $750,000.
We'll give you an extra what kind of a lifespan out of it?
Maybe another 15, 18-year lifespan out of it instead of 25. So we do have an option with that truck that we can do that. We'd have to go out and get cost estimates, and that truck, if we were to do $750,000, we're probably talking about a 1-year turnaround time. So we pull the truck
So
out of
you
service.
lose it for a year.
And we lose it for a year, and then we get it back and we do it. Or we bite the bullet if we want to. We spend $1.3 million.
Can it stay
We
in service
order-
for 3 more years?
The truck could go at any. So if we have something, a major component go, remember we're at the end of its lifespan.
Yeah.
Currently where we are, the motor's okay, but we don't. The pump and everything else is starting to wear. So we need to figure. We can ask them which way we want to go here. But the $750,000 we're gonna have to come up with to pay the vendor to repower it, to strip it down,
Within a year.
rewire the whole thing and the whole 9 yards. It's a big job.
Yeah.
So either we spend $750,000 on a truck that's 23 years old and we'll get another probably 15, 18 years out of, or do we bite the bullet and spend 1.3 and get a brand new truck, wait 2 to 3 years, and hold it for 20 to 25 years?
Yeah,
say
I
get
mean,
the
listen,
new
there's some risk
These,
assessment from your side.
they're
though,
right, but
Yeah.
these are real conversations because now
Yeah.
we're looking at 750 compared to 1.3.
Listen,
You're looking at a $550,000 plus.
there's part of it that really has to come from your guidance on.
So here's the deal with the
Guessing future.
2003
Right,
truck.
like-
We don't have any of the emissions, like the depth and everything else.
Oh,
So
is that a plus?
it is a plus. That's why I'm more leaning
So I'm
that way.
gonna
But on
put
the same
that-
token, you're gonna get 15, 18 years out of it, and at that time, the truck's gonna be
You got
probably
antique
close to
plates?
50 years old.
I would just say I think you should prioritize, because if you're,
You can't, you gotta be, I understand prioritization, but if we go down, we could go through each thing. So now, if we were to look at the chief's vehicle, right? It's a 2017 Suburban, right? And the only reason why I have it up here is because we're having a computer issue. The main computer of the truck is having a problem, right? So you're driving down the road, all the lights, the emergency lights will shut off. Then the whole dashboard will go dark, and then it will pop back up again. So when we take it to get it looked at, their recommendation is to get rid of the car because the main brain of the car is basically shot. It's done. And to put a new one in, they don't know where you're gonna start and stop, and it's already a 2017, so you're already 8 years into the vehicle. It doesn't really pay to spend that type of money to rip this whole thing apart.
Can you tell us what the pending resubmission is as opposed to not submitted first?
So pending resubmission is, we've already asked for it and it's gotten pushed back.
Okay.
So now, if we go to the assistant chief's vehicle, this vehicle is a 2011 Suburban, so that's what, 14 years old?
So pushback meaning they didn't approve it last time?
No, they pushed it out another year. So
They
instead
said-
of funding
they
it
said-
this year, last year,
They said-
now we pushed it out, now we're funding it again this year. So what happens is, when you push back, when you push everything back, it all stacks up. So
Yeah,
now, what are we gonna do? Now we got a 14-year-old Suburban, 15-year-old Suburban, right, gonna go on. Now, when we look at it, we got rot, it's got well over 100,000 miles on it. And these are emergency vehicles. They're meant to go hard, they're meant to idle, for hours, they got a lot of hours and time on them. At what point, and we got a lot of rot, so we're at the point where we're starting to dump big money into it, and it doesn't pay. If it was your car or my car, we get rid of it, we would have already gotten rid of it by now. It doesn't pay to hold these vehicles. These vehicles should last us, on the average, of about maybe 10 years, 9 to 10 years, that's it. And that's a good lifespan for a vehicle.
For sure.
It truly is, for like a Suburban. But we're at a point now where, so if we want to look at a priority, what's a priority? If we need to replace one of these cars at least, what's more important? The main brain of the computer going in the car, we're shutting down, or we're having big time rot underneath the vehicle and in the vehicle, and the vehicle's got over 100,000 miles on it. So these things are all coming, these things are all up. Fire hose, this we've had in the budget last year, they pushed it to this year. We need to, when we test hose, we lose hose, we have to replace hose and nozzles and fittings and all that other stuff. $25,000, it looks like a big number, it's really not. So a length of 5-inch hose is like $1,200 a length. Radio communications upgrade. This,
how much did they approve last year?
so.
Do you have a recollection?
So here, radio communications upgrade, this is our portable radios. So they approved that and we paid for that last year, $112,292.
And you
Okay.
just do like a life cycle
So now,
refresh.
this is this is a 4-year plan. So we paid year one, which we're in
25.
now. We're going into 26, they owe this payment to the leasing company, right?
yeah, so that's already obligated.
That's already obligated,
Yeah, I think we need to know.
and then so on and so on.
I think it would be helpful to show what is obligated and what's not.
Okay, so the radio communications upgrade is obligated. Airpox is obligated.
Good.
Engine 9 is obligated, and Engine 3 is obligated.
Okay, so then what we're really looking for requests are the first.
The aerial apparatus, we requested that last year, but see how we put a $300,000 number in this year?
Yeah.
The problem is, we put a $300,000 number in 4 years out. And it doesn't come up for discussion really because it's so far out, we don't have to talk about it this year because we're dealing with all this other stuff.
Well, when they realize that they're,
This is an odd financial scheme. You're basically doing depreciation in your budget for a budget line that is meant to depreciate over 5 years?
Well, it's basically setting up a reserve and giving the Board of Finance the right to approve the actual truck, which would be a more transparent way to do it.
But is it? Because technically, they're spending that money on something else. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, when I
So
think
listen.
of a capital budget, if they approve it, that money gets set aside.
it's set
To
aside,
be
it's
spent
covered
for what
funds.
was approved,
And then if you don't spend it, you lose it,
which was the truck account that he had,
right?
that the town took
We
away.
show them how much.
Right.
They don't have the,
See, there's no payment.
What
due
really
until
should be
Yeah, so
happening is-
guys, if you look at this is the radio upgrade. See the 112, 112, 112,
yeah,
okay? When you get to FY '29, it's zero.
goes away.
Right, goes
Right.
away.
Yeah, but.
Okay, when you see 175, this is engine 3.
That's the
175,
last year.
this
That's
is,
last year, it's a
this is
payment.
last year, and then it goes
It
away.
goes away.
Yeah, I think it would be important to separate out what's already been approved and what we're asking for initial approval
Well, it is,
on.
because.
No, it is.
It is.
It is.
You see by the years.
I know, but that's not clear from the chart, that's what
It's
I'm
not in the
saying.
format.
So
we
in
like
other
it.
words, I think,
I don't make the
I
format.
think
We
what
don't do-
she's
we don't
saying
do
I don't make the
format.
format.
Yeah,
is
format.
if the town has previously seen a request for an item
Yes.
and approved it in a prior fiscal year,
Mhm.
and they're expecting to see it again, we'd like to know that. Am I accurate in
Yeah,
stating
like
it
that
that
pending
way?
resubmission, are you telling me you have to use that phrase, there's nothing else you could use that would be, indicate whether there's been an initial approval or not an initial approval?
But that's not what it represents.
Yeah,
Pending resubmission means that finance didn't approve it last year.
but it's been obligated, so like those payments that are getting made and ending, they're,
Or not.
they have no choice.
So that's all done by, I'll just speak for this. So this is all done by a new software called ClearGov. Years ago, we used to just put it in an Excel spreadsheet, Sean and I.
And
used
you
to put
used
our
to
own-
see it.
We put our own verbiage in.
Right.
But now this is something it's a whole new platform. So,
So there's no verbiage
So-
in
so-
this.
right.
So we-
Some
Before,
of this
you used to
is-
get a
yeah.
full page
some of this is their
for each
standard,
item,
how
and you would see
they
it.
want to see it.
And you can't add a
So
column
weird.
and say
So,
previously
so I,
approved for fiscal year '24.
No.
well, I mean, if I wanted to, I mean, going forward, if you like for next year, I could manually add a column and say, hey, guys, this is our new ask. And I can certainly do that for the commission.
Yeah.
I mean, but as far as this, I just, uploaded and just exported from Excel from what they showed and that's how it comes out.
Again, I'm struggling on this idea that you're breaking out the yearly payments when literally capital budget is meant to depreciate over a term. Like, is finance asking you to stage it 300,000 a year over the 5-year term of payments?
No, we just did a 5-year term. We could go out 6 years.
But Tony, the finance guy, in his world has a depreciation life cycle of an of a
Asset.
capital budget.
Right.
So like he's depreciating your
So
300,000.
here's the deal, and the conversations I had is, once you get to like $1 million, right?
Yeah.
Plus, let's say a little over $1 million, you're almost, the question is, are you better off lease purchasing it, or are you better off bonding it?
Oh, bond funds. People love bond funds.
But we're at a critical point now where anything really under $1 million, lease purchase made the best sense, and sometimes the leasing agreement was cheaper, the finance rate was cheaper to do that than to bond the money.
And that's up to
Cut your nose to
finance, but
spite
the
your face.
reality is, it needs to be clear, just because we're not paying for it in 4 years, we're asking for approval right now. That's the problem. That's what you're saying, is there's no way for us to make a budget request for fiscal year '26 and get it approved when the payment is not gonna be made till 4 years
We're
later.
looking to approve it, we're not looking for the funds for it right
Right,
now.
and you're saying that there's
We're
no.
looking for you to commit for it in 4 years.
Right, but then you're saying that there's no mechanism to present it that
No.
way. So we have to present it some other way,
Correct,
and you don't want to present it as if the whole amount is due up front.
correct.
So let's assume we go with this capital budget and we asked them to approve $1 million, the whole thing.
Yeah.
What part of it is the town obligated to fund within the actual fiscal year of 2026?
Zero.
What they're on the ground for right now,
No, that's zero, what they're actually going to fund.
Well, they
You mean,
gotta
I
fund
mean, like, yes,
175
right,
for
right.
truck
175.
engine 3.
Yeah.
That's so weird, guys.
I mean, if you're not spending the capital budget that you've approved,
But like, so again, right? We want to do the HVAC. It's building controller. It's 150K. If we approve the building controller, we're gonna need to cut a check in 26 for 150K for somebody to come in and do that work, and we're gonna pay out 150K for somebody to come in 26.
you're on the hook, they're on the hook for $538,488.
Why don't you have the whole 150 there for HVAC? Isn't it gonna happen in 1 year?
And then Tony.
Because it depends on how they do it. So this number, we can change however Tony wants to change. We just take the number and we space it out over the years instead of having everything hit 1 year. If we had everything hit
but
1 year,
when do
that
you
number
need
would be
the
huge.
HVAC though?
What's that?
See, guys.
When do you need the HVAC system upgraded?
Now.
Next year,
But
this
see-
year, July.
Right, so
Is
how
this
could
the
you pay
direction?
it over 5 years?
Hold on.
Because they'll borrow if they borrow the money, or if he wants to do it, he just moves 150,000 into this line. All it is a placeholder right now. We don't have the number.
Yeah.
You're not, you're gonna, it's like a truck, right? So the truck, we're taking, like, let's take engine 9, right? We took delivery of it this year. We just paid the truck, but we already had it for close to a year. So our payments due $228,608. But we're not paying, we paid the vendor the full amount, right? We paid, because they're not gonna go over 5 years.
Yeah, yeah.
We went through a leasing company, we went through like a financial company, or a bank or whatever. It's the same deal with if we wanna do the HVAC and space it out over a few years, or does the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance say, let's do 150,000 this year and just wipe it out and be done?
How the town funds it is up to the town.
That's right, all we're doing is we're
But
putting a
that
number
should,
to
the
it.
150 should be there to be
It's all-
approved this year. That's
it's-
my opinion.
Wait, but it's all about what direction Tony gave him. Tony is the finance guy, right?
150,000, it depends. So if we let's take the air packs, right? This is a good number. The air packs were 66,210, right? Okay? What Tony did is he spaced it out over a 3-year period, $22,000.
We're asking to purchase air packs.
No, we already got the
We
air
already got
packs.
the air
We're
packs.
paying for the air packs.
We're not
See,
asking
but see,
for approval.
How,
This
who are we
is-
We're
paying?
asking, we're telling them,
So
there's a
wild.
payment due for 2026, and the town, at the annual town meeting, has to vote on that 22,070 for the air
So
packs.
some of them are
So-
carryover requests.
So the manufacturer sold us air packs.
Yes, they got paid
66
How did they get
grand.
paid?
by the bank, by a bond.
Tony
They got
them
paid
out of
paid by
some
the bank,
budget.
and all we're doing is we're paying the note off on the loan.
But again, it's
The bank pays the whole amount, the
Yeah.
bank
Yeah.
pays 66,210, right? All we do is we're paying for the payment.
Right,
That's all
so
we're
this
doing.
is Tony's direction. This is not something you came up with.
So
That's the
this
way
is
to
a
present it.
financing scheme.
This is
Yeah.
Tony's direction.
It's exactly
It's
what
a
this is.
financing.
Listen,
It's-
we're not,
it's-
listen,
I think
guys,
what Karen wants
guys,
to know, you wanna know what the carryover requests are, right? And how much
Yeah.
we owe- is that to make
Well,
it
no,
simplified?
I just want to know if this is Tony's direction, then this is how we'll do it. So I think we need to make sure we understand
Tony's,
the request.
but you gotta realize, what Tony's looking for is to spread these out. The problem is, a lot of these things have gotten bumped out. We're backed up again.
Yeah,
Right, but we can't tell the way it's presented what we really need to ask for approval for on February 4th.
You need these, you need to ask for these.
Okay, but the town has already obligated to pay it. That's the issue. Yeah, they are obligated to pay it. You already have the air packs. The town is obligated contractually to pay it. So what
You're
we,
not.
So you have 8 carryover
I
requests.
understand that the town meeting, the voters still have to say, yes, we want to meet our debt obligations.
Correct.
But that doesn't mean it's not obligated. It's obligated. So I understand you want to see everything that's being paid that was a capital improvement that was already approved and that it's going to get approved. But let's just focus on the ones that are new asks, okay? Even though it's not clear for tonight, for the commission has already voted on those things that are purchased and we're paying. We've already voted on those things in past years. So let's just focus on the new asks.
Karen, you have to vote on,
We are voting on what's presented.
This
For the
is-
purpose of this prolonged discussion,
you have to,
We
but
only
you have
want
to
to-
vote on, like, air packs, you have to vote
Sean,
on the,
listen to
on
what
the
I'm saying.
amount
We are,
that's
when
being
we
for-
vote
asked
tonight,
again.
we're voting on this whole budget.
Yes.
For the purpose of discussion and the questions for the commissioners, so we can kind of wrap up this discussion, let's just focus on the new asks, okay? Not when we vote,
Okay.
but for the purpose of discussion. Okay, so does everyone understand what are the new asks versus things that were asked for previous years, or do you want to see that somehow just highlighted or something?
So the hydrants, we said we'll talk about them at the end of the conversation. The HVAC you need right now.
If we agree to
But
that,
if we agree, we have to be talking about $150,000 number, because that's how the vendor's gonna get paid for the full amount this year.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Right, but they're
5,
breaking it
6.
up into-
Right there.
This
It's
is,
there.
this is a.
It's $150,000.
All right,
Not
forget
the
about
finance
this,
doing that.
forget about that, just go back to the requests and the total amount. That's what we're talking about for discussion. So the HVAC, does anybody have any questions? You already talked about it at some length. Anyone have any questions
No.
about the need to change the building management system, upgrade the building management system?
No,
Okay, is everybody ready to vote on that?
yes.
Okay, can you
Yes.
go back so we can see the request? Okay, engine two. Engine two, 23 years old, either we get a new one or I don't want to,
You just wanna see
just
that.
leave it right there, please.
I would leave engine two as buy the new, and if there is a restriction in capital budget, then we would make the determination on whether to refresh the existing vehicle.
Can I ask a question? Have we ever refreshed an existing vehicle?
Not in the last 25 years.
And when we've done it in the past, do you have any recollection on, was it worth the investment of refreshing it versus buying new? Because I feel like it's a bit of a gamble. That's why I would agree with you. Let's go with the new.
Let's go with the new,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
if
for
there's a
sure.
budget restriction and the need is there, we'll come back to Sean and say, you know, what's the inclination to do the refresh?
There's advantages to go both ways. There's an advantage of keeping what you currently have because of the emissions standard.
Yeah.
There
But
is-
you don't know what the DOT's gonna do in future years.
You don't.
They
but
could turn
what's your-
around and say now, as of the 3 years, you
The
know,
truck
these
is
are gonna
still,
be
the truck
the.
is still a good truck. I'm not saying it's a bad truck. It's just something, it's up for discussion, yes.
Okay, so what is your recommendation?
I'd leave it in, and I talked to Tony about this. We should leave it in as a brand new truck.
Okay.
Great,
Chief's
yes.
vehicle, you've explained the issue with that.
Yep.
And the assistant chiefs. Any questions? Does anyone have any more questions about those
No.
issues before voting? Okay. Fire hose.
Gotta have it.
That's just to replace a portion of the total amount
Correct.
that is recommended to be replaced every year.
Correct.
And what was replaced last year? 25,000?
It got pushed out. It didn't get funded last year.
Nothing was funded last year. Okay. Does anyone have questions
Thank you.
about that?
No,
Okay. Radio's done, air pack's done, aerial apparatus is the last one that we really need to talk about, and I will let you intro that.
So the aerial apparatus is, we had a 1976 American LaFrance 55-foot telesquirt. It didn't last, and then back in 2017, the association found a used one just to bridge the gap for a few years, and we bought a 1992 LTI 100-foot platform. And that was only supposed to be 3 or 4 years, and here we are in 2025, and the truck is at its end of its life, and we need to do it. Now, the lead time on this truck is 3 to 4 years out. So,
To be
and
clear, this isn't drones, this is telescoping fire hose on a vehicle.
no, this is an aerial apparatus. This is
Ladder.
a ladder
Ladder
truck.
truck.
100-foot.
Okay? 100-foot tower. It's got a basket on the end of it. This truck, and I can tell you right now, Orange is in the process of ordering another one. Orange's truck is 2.3 million. So we had the ability back in 2017, 2018, we went down to Maryland because they had a used truck which was 2 years old, and it was a truck we could have used, and that truck would have been, we struck a deal with them, but it came back and it got shot down in front of the Board of Finance. It was $910,000 with the equipment on it. That truck today is over $3 million. So trucks are not gonna go down, they're gonna go up. So if we were to place an order today, the order today would be probably north of 2 million for that truck, and it would have a built-in escalator in it.
So but you have a truck that you could order today for 1.8?
No.
I don't,
It's a
1.8 is the only, as far as I can go out, if I leave it at 300,000, it doesn't go out past
I see.
2030
It's
Yeah,
again
but we're
that
asking for a truck that's 2.3.
today.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're asking the Board of Selectmen to vote on a truck that's 2.3. I think that's what should be reflected in the request. That's misleading to me to say we're asking for a $1.8 million
Right, we're underfunding
obligation.
it.
You're not underfunding. What you're doing is when you go, listen, this isn't, they're not approving, they're gonna talk about this in the plan. You don't put your whole ask when you're looking at 2.1
Go
million
back
into
over
the
there.
entire
Go
amount.
back over there.
No.
What other
Put
thing
2.1
have you
in the
not?
first column,
Oh,
What other
1.8, this is
thing-
wrong. we have to change that.
Okay,
yeah.
that should be
Oh.
true.
And
on
then
my
divide
side.
that
Yep.
by the number of
Correct.
years, and that's
Yep.
the ask.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Is there
Yep.
anything else there that isn't the total ask in that column?
1,914, 175.
So can you edit it while we're here, or does
I
it
can,
give you that
we gotta go back.
capability?
Nope, we'll change it.
But we could put that in the motion.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Wait, let's change it.
So the 1.8 million is
See
gonna
that-
change to 2.1 million.
I don't care
2.8.
what
And then
those
you'll
things-
divide
2.3.
2.3 million, and then you'll divide that out over 4 years.
I'll
Well, even-
divide it out more than that,
Yeah.
probably 6 years.
I thought it would only let you go out to 30.
Yeah, but come next year, you put the other payment in.
Well, you're not paying for it for even starting for 4 years, so
Right,
it's so far out, but that number should be the total.
correct.
Okay,
How much was the used truck we purchased? The
I
92?
don't have that number
One-
in front of me. It was like
one,
90 grand, 100 grand.
So is it worth looking into a used aerial or just purchasing new?
Purchasing, you know.
Okay.
It's a lot of money when you start doing it. If you were to put our truck against another truck, it's like night and day. Where we should be running our truck more, and we're not because we're babying it, because otherwise we're gonna have big breakdowns on it. So we use it, but we don't use it as much as we wanna use it, and we should be using it, but we need it.
okay, so
So, going on with that, the town also is looking to approve, or approved, I'm a little confused on it, the zoning change to 4-story buildings.
Oh, boy.
So here we go.
Yeah.
This never came to the fire department, we never got asked our opinion or anything else on it. So they're looking to make a zoning change to go to 4-story buildings, basically. And without that truck, we don't have the capability of really
Fighting.
protecting it.
They're talking 80 units.
96 units,
Yeah.
92 or 96 units.
That got approved.
Where is
through
this?
TPC.
Town
It
planning
got
and
approved, but
zoning
there's a
approved
public
it.
hearing, I think,
Oh,
on the 28th.
yeah.
Where's the property?
Felton
So,
Street.
this is
is that what location?
over on Fountain Street, but what I understand is it got approved for zoning A or A1, and that means anywhere there's public sewer and water, you could have these a four-story building go up with units in them. So this changes a lot of the dynamic here,
Cement on
guys.
the first floor and then wood for the next three?
4 floors.
Right, but the construction would be wood for floors
I don't
2,
know.
3, and 4.
I don't know what they.
I don't know that.
We've seen nothing on it.
I don't
We've seen
think
it.
TBC.
We haven't gotten anything
Yeah,
on
we
it.
just
All we know
approved.
is something was approved, 4 stories.
Yup,
We weren't,
People are
we
pissed.
weren't even notified on it.
excuse my language.
But from a protection standpoint,
It's
this
on
is
camera.
critical right now.
Okay, so I think it might have been before Nick was with us, but we did receive a presentation on the aerial need for the aerial apparatus. Was that last year budget time or after? I think we did it at like 2 or 3 months after the budget.
We have it.
Yeah,
I mean, listen, guys, the TPZ, like, a vote has forced the budget hand, right? Like, we literally don't have the resources to respond to new TPZ zoning regulations. This is like a non-negotiable, right?
and
We
it takes
haven't-
4 years, so, you
Right.
know, yeah. So, I mean, I was already, a yes vote on the aerial apparatus when we discussed it last time. I think it was a unanimous vote last time at budget, time. And so I guess, you know, I'm comfortable voting on it. Do you guys need more information? Do you have questions?
The only question I have is if they say yes and you're 4 years out and the current apparatus you have won't respond to the 4-story buildings, is New Haven gonna provide mutual aid and can they get through that underpass to come up?
So you could ask for mutual aid, doesn't mean New Haven's not already out on a call. You
Right.
can request Orange, but Orange's truck, you gotta remember, is probably by the time you get there and find the need for it, you're probably 15 to 20 minutes before they even get here.
And then everything is in cinders anyways.
Mutual aid is, you don't rely on you rely on mutual aid, but that's not your first line of defense.
No, I totally get it.
It's
I've
there
been
to
listening.
assist you, it's not there to be your
When-
primary.
When you present, I would definitely like lean back on that TPZ vote and, you know, show the risk to community safety, right? I think it's fine to leave in with the adjusted number that we talked about, 2 point whatever.
I agree.
I think on
Yes.
the positive side of that, though, it's, you know, it goes hand in hand with development. So if you want to encourage development in the town, then you need to prepare
Plan.
your
Resources.
resources, yeah,
Public
and
services.
infrastructure, yeah. Okay, anyone have any
Well,
other?
we already have 3-story buildings in town too.
Yes, right, yeah.
So with the 4-story buildings, I believe, because I haven't seen the whole thing, you're actually changing the height too.
Yeah.
To increase the height of possible stories.
And remember, let's say a 4-story building is whatever, we also have a collapse zone in the fire service, so it's 1.5 times the height of the building, the truck has to be away. So when you come in, you have to incorporate all that into your calculations.
We're with you.
Yeah.
Right. Does anyone
Motion,
have,
motion to approve the budget as presented.
with the
We'll
change?
change that
Yeah,
Um,
with
number.
the-
In line 10.
Yeah.
With the adjustment.
B10 to be adjusted to be
Okay, before I accept that, do you have anyone else want to talk about hydrants, or everyone good with keeping the hydrants and ask in this year? Or no, you're not, you're asking for them in 27,
But we
keeping it
talked-
that way?
We talked
Yeah.
about that, and then I left it up to you guys, when you want to put it in this year's budget or next year.
Yeah, so what is it, what's the consensus? Do we have a consensus?
Well, I'm reading this as you've kind of already marked it as a 27, and I think that's the right call, is pushing the hydrants to a 27 ask.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Agreed.
Okay, so I will accept your motion to accept the capital budget for fiscal year 26 as presented, with the change to the budgeted year's capital cost amount in line 10 as discussed. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, let's get through the rest of this. Right. Are you all set?
Sure.
Are you okay?
All right, do
That was
we have an
exhausting.
activity report?
Oh, we don't have that.
Well, Ted's-
We have it here, if you guys wanna look at it quick.
Okay, does anyone want some time to look it over or have any questions? No, okay. Fire marshal's report.
122 inspections, 3 fire investigations. We had a shed on Brookwood, furnace fire on Evergreen, and someone tried to set fire to a playscape at West Riverfield. They left a Molotov cocktail type device on it. They got somebody in the neighborhood had a camera. The kids were too far away to get their feet, and they're juveniles, they're not gonna go, they know nothing's gonna happen to them. But, I brought the dog in, we took the samples, whatever was left. The dog sat, he detected, so you could smell gasoline or something. I got it in the back room. The reason why I called for the dog, I live in Wallingford. They were setting them on fire for a while in the town, playscape. So I said, I'll bring the dog and we'll put it in the back room. If we have a couple of more in town, we can take that, send it out for DNA, or see if the products all line up. So I'll hold on to it for a while, see what happens. I mean, I looked up the price of this thing, it's like 70 grand
For the playscape.
for the playscape.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Jeez.
Thank God it did minimal damage. I called Adam and he went down there and took a look at it. He said, it's very minimal. I said, I know, but I want you to know that we were there. Somebody tried to burn it on you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, anything else or any questions for Joe? All right, correspondence?
2 letters of correspondence, one from October, because we haven't met, from Woodbridge Rec, just thanking the fire department for all the support for the 2024 road race and the support throughout the year. And then one from a resident, there's an email to Sean and Lisa, Janet Devlin, thanking one of the firemen, which has to be Ted, who installed the car seat when that was during the Santa, right? When Santa was at the firehouse. They realized it was a wrong car seat, and Ted went and came out with a brand new one and gave it to them free of charge, so the grandchild would be safe. So she wanted just to thank that. She's on Forest Glen Drive.
So we have the car seat program, and we get car seats.
We get car seats
For free.
for free.
So if a car seat's expired or no good,
Yeah, if I recall, she was on the way to the airport to pick up her kid
Wow,
and had the wrong size car seat.
wow.
Oh, really? No.
Yes,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
Okay, any old business? New business? The calendar year meeting dates. Everyone get a chance to take a look at that? If those all look okay, I would just accept a motion to approve the schedule for 2025. Anybody want to make that motion?
Make a motion.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Opposed or abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, do you want to give us a brief? Oh, we're going to go into executive session, so we'll leave that for the end. Next meeting date is February 19th, 2025. Anybody have any issues with that they are aware of currently? Okay. All right, so we are just going to have a motion to go into executive session and then adjourn after that, and we can let you know what time we adjourn.
Perfect, yeah.
Okay. All right, I would accept a motion to go into executive session to discuss the storage and training facility update.
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Having a second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Also need to amend that motion to invite Chief Rowland in.
I'll amend the motion.
Yep.
Yeah.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed or abstain? Motion passes.